The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. Do you hear the world breaking out into applause? Hi, folks. I'm a lawyer myself. My name's Stephen Kane, aka Legal Amigo. I am a Stanford trained, California based attorney. I'm also a legal tech startup founder who's worked the last 10 plus years to make the legal system more fair for everyone, especially people without an attorney. So I have interesting views on the pros and cons of attorneys. There's lots of pros. There's a lot of well-known cons. Anyway, we'll get into all of that. If you want to subscribe to this channel, these videos are all about helping people help themselves navigate the legal system. Really tough, and it's been tough to work on reforming the system, but I haven't given up, neither should you. I think if we learn a little bit about what we're up against, that's the first step. Knowledge really is power in this system. But let's talk about why people hate attorneys. Why would that be? Why do people hate attorneys? That quote I gave about killing attorneys is a famous Shakespeare quote. It's from Henry VI, and it's said by Dick the Butcher, who's one of the revolutionaries in the story. And it's been interpreted in a lot of different ways. Two of the popular interpretations are, number one, lawyers suck. This is an indictment on them. They're awful. Or number two, that lawyers are important to social order, to law and order, that lawyers play a vital role in maintaining the fabric of society. I would posit to you that it could be both. Maybe it was a pun. Maybe Shakespeare made a pun. He made a lot of those. It could be both. So let's try to understand this whole topic. Why people hate lawyers, but why lawyers also are good. Maybe how lawyers can interact with the public in a way that doesn't breed as much hatred. And then also what this all means for society and law and order and et cetera. Let's get into it. All right. So it's no secret people don't like lawyers, and the question is why? Well, one reason might be personalities. Certain personalities are attracted to certain professions on large, right? It's not always the case. And so there are certain types of people who might be drawn to law. And for whatever reason, the common reputation of a lot of lawyers is that they are arrogant, they are argumentative, both in court and outside of court, that they are manipulative, that they lie, that they're intimidating, and straight up mean, right? Not a great reputation. Not a great reputation. I think nurses have a much better reputation. Kindergarten teachers a much better reputation. Someone who does horticulture, better reputation. A chef, better reputation. Okay, and these are some of the personality traits that probably help a lawyer be effective as a zealous advocate to their client. Effective at getting things done. And effective in court, but not always somebody who's great to be around if they exhibit these personality traits. I often find that it's good to at least try honey first, that it can work as well as vinegar. They can actually be disarming to people when, as an attorney, I'm mild-mannered, when I give them the benefit of the doubt, when I try to be transparent as possible, when I try to work things out. It can be effective for lawyers, especially with that reputation, to do that. And I will tell you, I know a number of lawyers who don't have these traits. I know a number of lawyers who do, but I know a number who don't. But anyway, that might be one reason that people have a hard time with lawyers. Lawyers, I think, can be hard to date and be in friendship with, right? So maybe that's another reason lawyers have a better reputation, because somebody might say, oh, I know a lawyer, I dated a lawyer, it was tough to be around them. Maybe for all those reasons that some lawyers have those personality traits. Maybe also that a lot of lawyers are stressed out a lot of the time. Lawyers bill by the hour. Lawyers maybe are, trying to represent a lot of clients, trying to help solve a lot of problems. There is that side to lawyers where we love solving problems and we love helping people. Maybe sometimes we get stretched too thin. And so lawyers can oftentimes be stressed out. Lawyers can be always working. Lawyers can sometimes have chips on their shoulder. I noticed that in law school, a lot of my classmates seem to want to go to law school because they wanted to do good in the world. And sometimes they meant that either they or someone close to them were wronged in the world. I would include myself in that. So sometimes we have chips on our shoulders. I would say I struggled with that for many years, where there was this sort of insecurity because of maybe being actually bullied ourselves, or seeing people being bullied or mistreated by the system and having a score to settle, right? I've done my best to fix that in me, right? To come to a steady state, to not let that be such a driving force. It's still there in me. But that could be another reason where you almost might have sympathy for a lawyer because they went through something difficult, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're easy to be around. And I can't say I was always the easiest to be around. I think most of my friends would say I'm a nice person. I care a lot about other people, but maybe I exhibited some of that, right? Definitely being stressed out at certain points in my life, overworking for sure, and then having this kind of, chip on my shoulder, trying to settle a score, change the system. What I realize is I still want to see changes made in the system, but I can't do it on my own, and it can't be like a core personality trait to the point that it drives me and the people around me crazy. So anyway, lawyers can be hard to date and be friends with for those reasons. Another thing is lawyers make money off other people's problems. So what's the big joke is that you're in a car accident and then a lawyer shows up, right? So in California, at least, and I think probably in every state, but definitely in most jurisdictions, there are ethical rules about lawyers being able to like show up in a hospital room, right? Somebody's on the hospital bed after a car accident. Here's my card. There are rules against that, right? Maybe some people do that in certain ways, but I think most lawyers understand that and that they shouldn't do that. And so, that's another thing, right? So you have a mishap and then a lawyer shows up, or you only need a lawyer in a very difficult situation. Then so the question is, are lawyers raking it in, making money off of people's hardships, off of bad situations? I think lawyers would argue, hey, we're trying to help solve the problem. But I think a lot of people might feel, or there's a reputation that, hey, lawyers are feeding off of these problems, right? Car accidents, divorce, business partner disputes. And there is an incentive for lawyers to bill. So there is an incentive for lawyers to want to litigate and have protracted legal disputes versus settling things early. In most of my career, with my legal clients, I always try to settle cases out. I come from like the Abraham Lincoln School of Law, which is that your reputation over time matters a whole lot more than each particular case. That you'll get more clients and make more money and win more business over time if you have a reputation for being somebody who resolves disputes early and often, as opposed to letting them drag on. But there is that incentive, lawyers are human. They do have this built-in incentive to bill. It might cloud their judgment, you could argue. You have to have, I think, a good amount of integrity for it not to cloud your judgment. It's really hard to say a lot of times what the right thing is. Should you litigate? Should you not? It's all gray area a lot of the time. It's debatable. You ask 10 lawyers their opinion, you'll get 10 different opinions. So it's a tricky one, but people might resent that. Hey, you're here because I'm in trouble. There's conflict. Maybe you made the conflict worse. Maybe it was subconscious. You didn't realize it. You billed a bunch. I had to pay all this money, and we really could have settled it a lot sooner. We'll talk, I think, more about that in future videos. There is this tension. There is this, I think, incentive that has to be paid attention to. And if you're a client, you have to know what the lawyer's incentives are. So when they're giving you advice, you have to just weigh it all. And it's always good to get second opinions if you can. So if you get a free consultation with one lawyer and that lawyer is saying you should sue, maybe get another free consultation with another lawyer to see what they say also, right? By the way, I didn't even mention sometimes people are in trouble with the law from a criminal law perspective. And they feel lawyers making money off that, especially if they feel they're innocent. Other people might say, hey, this lawyer saved me from going to prison, right? I was innocent, the lawyer saved me, or whatever the case is. It's really both sides of the coin. I think Shakespeare's line is, to me, a pun. There's both. There's let's get rid of the lawyers. There's let's have an indictment on law, on the legal profession. but there's also we need lawyers. I think most reasonable people would agree with that. Anyway, there's some other reasons people hate lawyers. Let's keep talking about it. This might be the most viewed video I ever have. This might be the one people really like. Maybe I'm working out some of your, long-held issues, resentments. Maybe this is like, alchemizing for you, as they say. Okay, well, lawyers are expensive. Lawyers are expensive. You have to get a license to be a lawyer. It's not easy to become a lawyer. You have to go to law school. A lot of us had a lot of law school debt, right? Coming out of law school. So on the one hand, lawyers invest a lot of money. We invest a lot in our brain and training. And so I don't think anyone thinks we should make nothing. But I think lawyers are very expensive, especially when lawyers bill a lot, especially when it's hard for you to say, should they be billing me for X, Y, and Z? That's some of the stuff we're going to cover in these videos. But it's a tough one. Anytime you're paying lawyers the amount of money we charge, you might not feel great about it, even if they do a fantastic job, or just the fact that you're not sure how much time something should take. It's same as like going to an auto mechanic. That's where trust is really important. Do you trust your attorney? That's where getting a referral from someone maybe someone who's used this attorney in the past, is really helpful. Ask them about it. Of course, online reviews to an extent, because online reviews can be manipulated. Sometimes people get paid to remove their negative reviews, or, there's SEO tricks you can do to make good reviews show up, or you can ask people who are satisfied to make reviews. There's ways to manipulate those. But anyway, it's fair enough. Lawyers can be expensive. Another thing is lawyers speak a different language. We use legalese. We use big words. We use words nobody else knows. That's annoying, right? It doesn't have to be that way. I try my best to use words that a non-lawyer might understand. Sometimes I use legalese, especially with other lawyers. I try to explain to people what legalese means. Don't be afraid to look at Black's Law Dictionary. That's a dictionary of legal terms. If you ever want to understand a term, Google it, use ChatGPT. ChatGPT still makes errors sometimes with law, so use that with a grain of salt. But triangulate the information, try to figure it out. But yeah, that can be annoying. It's like it would be like if I'm speaking to you in French and you don't know French. Yeah, it's annoying. Another thing is with business leaders and small business owners, lawyers can be perceived as Dr. No, always say no. Lawyers can be sort of risk averse, because it's like we don't get in trouble for giving you worst case scenarios or for telling you don't do something and then looking good because we kept you out of trouble. It's easier to tell you not to do something. It takes a little more work to explain to you the trade-offs. Here's the risk, here's the reward, here are the potential outcomes. This is my recommendation, but do what you want. You're the person who should decide that. That's what I always try to do with my clients, but it takes more work. It's a little harder. I think it'd be good for more lawyers to understand that clients get it. They might not know law or understand legalese, but they'll understand what you're talking about if you break it down in non-lawyer language, basically, I think. That's been my experience. Here's the long and short of it. Here are the legal risks. Here's what I think you might do. But yeah, lawyers get a bad name for sort of being the bearer of bad news. I think another thing is lawyers represent crooks sometimes. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Or lawyers might represent like someone powerful who might be perceived as oppressing other people. That's going to happen, right? It's true everyone deserves representation. I think the struggle with a lot of people is that not everybody can afford representation. Not everybody gets representation. And then it's, how do lawyers represent? Well, we're taught to be zealous advocates, represent our clients, win, for our clients. But sometimes lawyers make horrible arguments that don't make any sense, whether it's in the criminal context or civil. Sometimes lawyers just try to overpower someone because it's a lot easier, as opposed to going in and saying, hey, I want to listen to you. What's your side of the story? Well, here's what we're thinking and here's why. Let's work it out. Because lawyers are trying to help their clients and win, right? There's pressure on lawyers to win. But I think that makes sense, that people might especially look at news stories of who a lawyer is representing and say, why would they represent this person? And there is sometimes like a media indictment of people that's not fair. You have to look at all the evidence. I've certainly seen that happen where somebody gets canceled unfairly. and they deserve to be heard too. So I don't know. That's a tricky one for me, but I think that's another reason that people might resent lawyers is like based on their perception of who the lawyer is representing. But I think there's this whole other layer. There's this whole meta situation going on within all of this, which is also at the heart of Shakespeare's quote, which is so interesting. You know, the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. What does that mean? Well, if you're a revolutionary like Dick the Butcher was in Henry VI, and you think the current regime is unfair or unjust or that you should be in charge, then maybe what you're also saying is that lawyers are an agent of an unfair system. That the system's not fair, lawyers are perpetuating that system, and therefore that's a big problem, and that's a reason people hate lawyers. I gotta say, that's something to chew on, right? The more fair the legal system is, the less of a problem I imagine people might have with lawyers, even aside from all the other stuff. The other stuff might still be a problem, but I feel like at the crux of it, the legal system we live in this country right now has a lot of unfairness. And one of the main things is that most people cannot afford an attorney. But you have this system that imagines theoretically that there are two able attorneys going up against each other. And I will tell you, most attorneys aren't even that able. Not like you would expect. It's just a fact. Like most attorneys aren't thorough. They don't do their full research. They aren't as magnificent in court or at writing as you might imagine, like you see on TV. It's just a fact. There's a lot of great lawyers out there. I should say some. I just say some. But most lawyers aren't going to be like the lawyer you're used to imagining that you see on courtroom dramas. It's just true. But certainly a lot of the time, it's like over 90% of people who need an attorney with civil issues, non-criminal, can't afford one or don't have access to one for whatever reason. In criminal law, you're appointed an attorney, but that attorney is overrun with case files. So I think that the system's unfair in the sense that, well, in more than one sense, but certainly in the sense that not everybody can afford an effective attorney. And until that changes, I think if attorneys are the agents of this system, people are going to resent attorneys. We'll talk about other things in the system that aren't fair that I think maybe we could change. I love talking about policy reform. I want to get into talking about solutions. But certainly I also want to lay out the problems. And I think we got to lay out the problems first and then talk about solutions. This whole channel, these videos are all about you overcoming these problems despite the fact that there's not a level playing field. That with knowledge you have power, that there are things you can do. And that's the thing, there are levers in the system that you can pull to make things a little more fair. There are things you can do to advocate for yourself. It's just not easy for everyone. But I think with more information, learning how to think like a lawyer, we can bring you closer to that place where it's a little bit easier for you to navigate. And then over time, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what else might be problems, what might be solutions, and we'll talk more and more about solutions and what we might try to do about all this. So anyway, this has been fun. Why do people hate lawyers? I also want to hear from you why people love lawyers. Maybe I'll do a video on why people love lawyers. Let me know in the comments whether you want me to do that. Thanks for your time. This has been great, and look forward to connecting with more and more of you over time. Take care, folks.